Hi, everyone. We're so excited. I'm so excited to be here. But I want to make sure to tell you all, um, this is about you, right? This is about you. This is about you getting your questions answered and you leaving here with something when you go back home that you can implement. So that's the goal. So please, it's a safe space. Feel free to be vulnerable and get your questions answered. If there is something that you want to discuss in private with either one of us, feel free to just come up afterwards. Or if it's something that can benefit everyone in the room, just step up and ask your questions, and then let's just share the knowledge. Um,
All right, so thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here to share all of the information about trust and estate planning. This is really meant to be a conversation, like Nadine said. I want us to, as women, as stewards of our money, of our assets, to really get the information that we need. And so no question is off limit. I think somebody asked me a question earlier, and I could answer the legal part, and then I said, you need to come to this room because Swanelli will answer the financial part, right? Because estate planners and financial advisors, we usually work hand in hand in trying to assist you with establishing your legacy plan. So the way that we're going to start is I'm going to start asking Swanelli some questions just to get us a basis going about what she does and how she can best serve you. And then we'll do the same thing for me, and then after that we'll open it up for questions and concerns if that's okay with you all, because we just want to make sure that your questions are answered. This is your session, so please don't be shy. Ask me the question. And I think there were some questions in the chat. If the people are here, I was running my mouth at lunch, so I didn't get a chance to answer them. If you can ask them again here, I would be happy to answer them, okay? So Swanelli, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
The first question is, what is a financial advisor?
So that's the number one question I get. Well, what is a financial advisor? What do you do? So the same way you have a dentist, you go to a dentist, right? You have a primary, a gynecologist. That's the role a financial advisor should be playing in your life, right? Financial advisor, their job, my job is to help my clients create a financial plan. We all need a financial plan. Not having a financial plan is your financial plan, right? So if you don't have one, most majority of the time, it'll result in chaos. So the financial advisor is to help you create a plan for your family in the hope to create wealth and create a legacy.
Okay. Why should somebody in this room work with a financial advisor?
Because we don't know it all. You don't know what you don't know, right? And talking about money, it's so intimate, right? And sometimes it can be overwhelming, right? Earlier, I was in the break room, and I was talking about how building wealth is not new to us Haitians, and let me tell you why. If you think about Madame Pierre-Lieu when she was talking about paysans and agriculture and their garden and so on and so forth, back in the days, before people get married, right? Marie-Louise's parent and T. Jacques' parent will get together. And they're like, combien de pot de café ou gain? How many bœufs do you have? That's financial planning, securing their children's financial future. So it's not new to us Haitians. How it's implemented here in the United States is different, right? People are talking about the stock market, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, Google just split. The language is different. So what we have to think about, how do we make sure that we fully immerse ourselves in the American culture when it comes to building wealth, not just for us, sustaining ourselves, but to build wealth for the next generation, creating that legacy.
Okay. What value does a financial advisor bring into someone's life right now?
So the American Psychology Association did a survey, and in the survey they found out 87% of people are stressed right now. Like they're going through a lot of stress. And can you guys tell me why? And it's financial stress. Can you tell me what's bringing on that financial stress currently? Yes. 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 Inflation. That's where we're at. What is inflation, right? Any of us know what inflation is? Go ahead, Rachel. Yes. Things are becoming lavish, right? So the money that you're making right now, how do you ensure that that money lasts, right? How do you stretch that dollar? Can it be stretched? Do you have to get another job to make more money so you can provide for your family? So we're all worried about that. And if you're not thinking about inflation, it is something that I think we all should be thinking about, because we're also going into what they call a recession, right? Depends on how you look at it. I hear recession, I hear opportunities, but then again, that's the financial advisor in me, right? I hear recession, la vie dure is coming, but it's also an opportunity for us to take advantage of and to build wealth. Did that answer the question?
Well, I think it does. Yes. Let me answer yes. It depends. That's the lawyer answer.
Yeah.
What value? What's the value that the financial advisor can bring into your life now?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, sorry, I kind of deviated a little bit. Value that a financial advisor can bring to you at the moment is wherever you are at right now. If you are single, if you are married, if you have children, if you're looking at retirement, a financial advisor will help you create a plan. A plan. Money is emotional. We're emotionally connected to our money. That's it. We are. So a financial advisor keeps you focused on your goal. What is the goal? What do you want this money to do for you? So working with a financial advisor help you laser focus on that goal and not deviate, not let your emotions take over. And I'll say this, we all have suffered somehow, directly or indirectly, from financial trauma. Every single one of us, at some point in your life, you have, you have experienced some type of financial trauma. So working with a financial advisor help you address that trauma. It should help you address that trauma so you can focus on accomplishing your goal.
Okay. And what is one thing everyone in this room can do today to start from a financial advisor's perspective?
Evaluate where you are right now. What keeps you up at night? I think there's a piece. Yeah. And it makes it easy, retirement and so on and so forth. You guys can go and read through that piece later on. But evaluate, like, where am I right now? What's keeping me up? Is it my bills? Do I have enough, right? Is it providing for my kids, making sure that they have an education? And acknowledging, do you have financial worries or financial problems? There's a difference, right? Do you have financial worries or do you have financial problems? Financial problems is, listen, I need to make enough money so I can live, right? That's a problem. We need to solve that problem. Either you get an other job, marry rich, marry well, right? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Listen, there's a lot of men out there who are looking forward to marrying well, so you ladies, make sure you marry, It's important. Yes. So that's how you address your financial problem. Financial worries is, okay, do I move into this school district so my son or daughter can go to this school, right? So that's a financial worry. It's not like you can't provide for your basic needs. You now just want your child to have a better education based on buying a home that may cost a little bit more. So you have to make sure that, I think in this country we focus more on financial worries. We focus more on financial problems and not financial worries. So make sure that you can differentiate the difference. And then just start where you are. Start exactly where you are. Don't look at everyone's issues when it comes to finance is different. Start where you are. If it's retirement that's the issue, let's talk about it. If it's living paycheck to paycheck, then we need to talk to that boss. We need to negotiate your salary. If it's bringing your spouse into the conversation, but just start where you are. Wherever you at right now financially, start there. Yes. I do. Well, should have done by now. I don't want y'all to feel bad. Oh my gosh, Melly, I didn't do it. I feel so I would say, number one, you need an emergency fund. Full stop. An emergency, 3 to 6 months of emergency, of money, if you have an emergency that you can tap into. Now, if you don't have it, that's okay, but start working towards that, right? Number two, yes? 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Yes, gas, electricity, everything, yes.
So your monthly budget times
Yes, times 3 to 6 months, absolutely. The best way to start an emergency fund. So you get paid, right? And then Uncle Sam get their part, and then you put some money in the 401k and so on and so forth. And then whatever is left over is what you use to pay your bills, right? So now let's say you're like, well, Spinelli, what I have is, I'm barely cutting it, Then we got to look at your expenses. Who are you giving your money to? So the best way to start, the mark, right, maybe credit cards, maybe Amazon, maybe, things that maybe we shouldn't be spending on, right? So yes, there's that too. But I would say the best way to start is to go back and look at who are you giving your money to, right? And whoever is receiving your money that shouldn't be receiving your money, maybe we kind of like take a few months off and not give them your money and put that towards the emergency fund. So I would say that's how you start. And you start wherever you're at. Like if it's $3,000 a month that you are giving to somebody who didn't deserve it, then that goes into your savings account. If it's $100, if it's $50, if it's $20, that's how you start. Hopefully that answered your question.
In other words, you stretch your bills and your light bill, your water bill,
Yes.
Comcast, whatever.
Right.
And is there a way for you to get some money out of actual money that you must pay and keep on living?
Well, yeah. See, now that's a one-to-one conversation. That's when I dive into your credit cards.
One question for you.
Go ahead.
The one thing I think that I can help you understand, a while back, I had, one of those financial things. The first thing they said to me, two things that I did that I felt was very helpful. The first one was pay yourself first. You can't spend money that is not easily in your account. Meaning that you go to your HR, you ask them if it's $100 a paycheck, if it's $200 a paycheck, sending it directly to a saving account you have access to, but pretend you don't. Okay, that's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing that they told me was make a budget.
Absolutely.
Okay, make a budget. It doesn't really matter whether or not your income cannot compensate with your bills. But once you make a budget and write everything down, and when I did that, I found out that I was eating out way.
You're giving your money to people who don't deserve it.
That's one thing. The second thing was, for that, was that for like what, maybe 3 days, say that you're not going to use any credit cards.
Right.
And then after 3 days, if you can do that, do 1 week. And then, like what, all of those things.
Right.
So those are the things that I felt like could help. And then once you make the budget, you really looked at yourself in the mirror. You're not going to like what you see.
I mean, I don't need to say more. I mean,
No. I did.
right.
Like for instance, for me, this conference is becoming something that I feel like I can't negotiate for my own mental health.
Yes.
So last year, after I left here, and every 2 weeks or a
Yes. There you go. We don't, listen. Um, I don't want money to monopolize the conversation. I'll answer one. I know you have. I was going to give you a list, but we're going to get to that. No, right. Let's answer your question here, and then we got to let Regine talk about estate planning. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, that I'm excited about the recession. She said my investment ideas. She said I get really excited whenever the market is in chaos. It brings me lots of joy in my heart. So the reason why. So a lot of you, if you're invested and if you're invested in the market, you have an investment account, you own stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, it hurts right now because your portfolio is down 30, 20%, and you're wondering what the hell is happening, excuse my French. If you have a 401k or an IRA, whatever it is, you're looking at it and it's down. But what does Warren Buffett say? When they're greedy, be fearful. When they're fearful, be greedy, right? We don't buy high and sell low, right? We buy low and sell high. We're about to enter a recession, which means valuable investments, valuable companies are trading at a price that's lower than what they're worth, right? It doesn't feel good. It never feels good. When I had this conversation in 2020, like everybody's stomach was turning inside out, and I'm like, this is it. This is the time for you to go and buy, I can't say specific companies, but a world of technology, we all use, there are companies, valuable companies right now that are trading at a lower price that you can invest in. And we saw that in 2020, those of us who just, took action and invested in those companies. And we're about to experience a nice pullback and very healthy recession. It doesn't feel good when you look at your portfolios, but take advantage, buy more of the, and I'll say this, of the companies that we use on a regular basis. Toilet paper, paper towels, diaper, coffee, the Amazon boxes that won't stop coming to my house. Those type of, that's what I would say. So with that being said, I will now ask Regine, and ladies, we're going to circle back, open it up to continue the dialogue. But now I will now ask Regine a few questions.
Well, I have one more question.
Oh, yes, please, yes.
I want to know, the questions were great, so thank you so much for keeping it interactive. How does a financial advisor work with an estate planning lawyer or trust and estate lawyer?
So it's usually a financial advisor, a trust and estate planning attorney, and a CPA. But we're missing that piece today, but next time we'll have that. It's the trifecta, that's why I like to call it. So I manage the finance, the money. Regine makes sure legally, right, you are protected, and that estate and that legacy that you've built is easily accessible should you become incapacitated, and that I like to call it power from the grave. Yeah, right? So your wishes, when you're no longer here, right, can come to pass. So your children are not fighting for whatever, you didn't mean for Marie-Jo to get the car, yet Marie-Jo said, Daddy wanted me to have it. Like, your wishes come to pass, and it's an easy transition. So that's how Regine and I, we work together. And I would like to debunk this myth, like, I got to be a trust fund baby for me to have a trust attorney, or bagay assez l'argent for me to have a trust attorney. Not having an estate plan is your estate plan, right? Yeah. So that's how, that's how we join at the hip.
Yes, we need each other.
Yes. So now I will be asking Regine some questions. What is a trust and estate attorney?
So pretty much what we do is we assist families with the planning of your legacy. What Swanelli does is she helps you to get the money, right? what I help you do is after you've gotten this money, how do you ensure that if something happens to you while you're living, there's money to take care of you, so you're not potentially getting a Medicaid, or you make too much money to get a Medicaid and we have to do Medicaid planning, or after you're gone, what happens to this money? As an attorney, I'll tell you, I call myself a retired litigator, but having litigated a lot of cases, a lot of money gets lost in litigation. And so what happens to families are that families are getting a fractional share of what mom worked really hard for because the lawyers are involved. And so that's not what we want for you, right? And you know, with anybody who's had loss, it's an emotional time. You guys are trying, families are trying to grieve, and then we're trying to figure out who's gonna pay the mortgage, right? Because the mortgage still needs to get paid. The people want to be paid on the 1st.
Yeah,
okay?
that's true.
Every month, they don't care. They didn't, you know. So who's gonna pay the mortgage? Who's gonna be driving the car and taking care of the car? Does mom have enough money? Is there liquid money to bury mom? Or do we have to do a GoFundMe and do a collection, right? And so what I help to do as an estate planning attorney is I help you to think about those strategies. Swanelli is going to get you the life insurance to help with the liquidity. But I'm going to help you make sure that as part of your estate, we think about, do I have enough to bury? Like, is everything in the market? And then the person's dead, and we have to wait 3 to 6 weeks to bury them because we don't have enough money, right? And do you have children under the age of 18, right? Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to manage their money until they're 21 or 18 or whatever age that you want them to be, right? And so as a trust and estate planning attorney, I help you to think of the strategies. And so I always say one plan is not the plan for everybody, right? Because everybody's family is different. Some people are single, some people are married. The myth, single people don't need a estate plan. Single people absolutely need a estate plan. I joke around, I said I just got married last week, I was single, and when I was single was the most important time for me to have an estate plan. And the reason is, if you're 18 years old in this country and you're competent, there's no one else that's legally able to make a decision for you. So think about that. If you have that college-bound student, you have an 18-year-old young man, an 18-year-old young lady, you did the whole shopping at Target, you got them all of the things, you got the room fixed up, but you sent your baby in the world with no plan. So this is where the rubber meets the road for me, because I get the calls every week, and did I just get a call Thursday? Somebody was driving, somebody called them, somebody is in the ICU, the doctors are asking, do they have, who's supposed to take care of this person? When you're in the ICU, it's not the time to plan. It's too late, and the courts have to get involved. And I'm licensed in Maryland, DC, and Florida. Depending on the jurisdiction that you're in, it takes a while. DC has the rule, it takes 30 days from filing. So that's 30 days that we gotta see the judge before we get a judge order. In Maryland, it's taking about 3 to 6 months, they're backed up. Florida can take about 3 months. So what happens in 3 months? Somebody's in the hospital, there's no one to speak for them.
A lot can happen.
Does that mean you cannot help anyone else but Florida? Or
Excuse me?
you said you are licensed in DC, Maryland, and Florida.
So those
Does that mean you cannot give any advice to anyone else in those 3 states?
So today I'm not giving legal advice. Thank you for the disclaimer.
Yes.
Yes. But I can answer any and all your questions today as information. Yes.
Yes.
Happy to do that.
Yes, I'm also not giving any financial advice. I'm not giving any financial advice, but the information available to everybody.
Yes.
So moving on. Well, I think you've answered that.
Okay. Why do you need one?
Why do you need one?
Because what Swanelli said is true. Not actually planning is a plan. It's a plan for chaos, right? When we think about, when you're here, if you don't plan and something happens to you, right, then there's a guardianship process. And I told you 3 to 6 months, a month, whatever. And what happens in those times, there's no one to speak for the person. Whatever, they're getting whatever medical care they're getting. They're doing just the bare minimum. But you can't say, I want to refuse treatment. I want such person to get this type of treatment, because you're not entitled to do that unless a person has the documents, right? And then what happens after life, in every jurisdiction, there is something called the intestacy laws, right? Intestacy, someone who has passed without a will or a trust, right? And depending on where you are, there is a statutory scheme. The legislatures decided whatever they thought was best, okay? In Maryland, we had a case, and I guess husband and wife had been separated, had been 30 years or something. I don't think they even saw each other for like the 30 years. A husband died. The kids were trying to administer dad's estate. Didn't even know that dad was married. But do you know what happened? The wife got everything, because that's what the statute provides for. And in this case, in Maryland, it provides the first $40,000 plus half. There was only $30-something thousand in the estate, so the wife got everything. So these kids that had been talking to dad every day, that had visited him at the hospital, who loved on him, who nurtured him, and all of those things, and what dad would have wanted, potentially, right, would be to take care of his 3 boys, did not happen, right? And so there is a plan. It's just whether it's the plan that you want to happen for you. So I always say to people, you know, to the extent that it makes sense, know what the plan is from the statutory scheme. If you're okay with it, I'm great with it, right? But if you're not okay with it, right, then you need to have an alternate plan. Because the worst phrase that I hear every week, and I do the other side of it, which is probate, is this is what mom would have wanted.
Is it?
Oh my gosh. every week I hear this. This is what mom would have wanted. This is what so-and-so would have wanted. So-and-so wouldn't have wanted this. Oh, okay. There's nothing I can do, right? We can go to court. We can have a hearing, which means now the lawyer's getting money. The family's getting less. We could let the statutory scheme take over, which is not what is potentially best for everybody. But this happens because there's no planning.
So if I can translate to layman's terms, what I'm hearing you say is, if you don't have something in writing that tells courts and the world what you want to happen after you pass, then the state law where you live, aka the statutory scheme,
Yes.
will determine how your bien will be distributed.
Your bien,
Regardless of what
your bien and your person. And your person. Because if you're alive, right? Let's say, you know, if we think of Alzheimer's, I think there's an Alzheimer's run today in DC. If you think of somebody having a coma, right? Right now I take care of this gentleman. He has some sort of mental health issue, right? He has family members. But by court order, I regulate, you know, I write the checks every month for his rent. If he wants snacks, I write the check for the snacks. I order the snacks. But I get to determine, right? If I was a mean person, you don't get grape soda. Why would I do that? I don't know. But, you know, that's what I could do, right? But I get to determine which place he goes into, how he gets treated. I've gotten the call. I've served other people's guardians. The person's getting transported, and they're physically or medically fragile. What do you want to happen if something happens to them on the transport? The court order says you have to keep them alive at all costs. What if that's not what you wanted? Right? What if that's not what you want for yourself? But if there's a court order because the court has to get involved because you didn't determine what you want to happen, there is a scheme. It just might not be the one you want. And so now you're staying alive and you're staying alive and you're staying alive. And think about it. While you're staying alive, you are draining the assets that are potentially going to go onto your legacy. Yep. Because I'm not paying for it. You're paying for it. Whether you decide to pay for it knowingly, capably, intelligently, or whether you decide to pay for it as a result of what happens to you.
Yep.
Should you, if you do that estate planning, should you share it with your living people, the people who's going to be, or should you just do it and stack it in a safety deposit box or something?
Great question.
Never put it in a safe deposit box at the bank. Never. That's like my number one no-no. Okay. Because if a safe deposit box is only in your name, there needs to be a court order to get it. Okay. I always say it's best to share it. Okay? Right. So that's my nugget. That's my free nugget for today. Never put it in a safe deposit box. Second thing, you should share what you have with somebody. Right? while you're living, you can always amend your plan. Obviously, there are certain things, irrevocable trust, and we can always talk about all of these other things, right, that are not technically revocable, modifiable, changeable. But let's say you have a will in your 20s. I had a will in my 20s. The will that I had in my 20s is not the will that I have now. After I got married, I ripped up my will. I now have another will because I have a husband, right? And so it's a different will. You can always modify. If you change your mind about giving money to your sister, you know, or you want to change the denomination, like you wanted to give them $1 million, now you want to give them $900, you can always change your documents, right? I've seen it done. I'm not,
Yeah.
these are not examples from my mind. These are examples from the truth, okay? But you can always change your documents. So I say have one or two people know, but everybody doesn't need, like, it doesn't need to be a family conference, right? And the reason is, you know, let's say you change your mind and you decide, let's say somebody has 3 kids and they're like, I don't want to give to the oldest anymore because the oldest is well enough, right? And you told them that you were going to give them a third. Maybe it's going to create some sort of strife if you share with everybody, you know? But have one person who knows where your assets are. They should be kept in a fireproof safe in your home.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So my parents are both at retirement age, and they're not really financially responsible, I guess. So how can I start to have that conversation just to get them to start thinking about planning for retirement? They seem a little resistant to that idea of planning.
So talk to them about what they're, you know, not having a plan is a plan. So
Right.
talk to them about what do you envision for yourself, right? You know, what do you, mom and dad, what do you want to happen? And then see what the vision is for themselves. Some people want to work until they leave this earth. And that's okay, right? Some people want to be 65 on the porch drinking lemonade, no business to neighborhood life. That's okay, right? Those are 2 different types of plan, and those are going to provide different avenues in terms of what Swaneli provides and what I provide, right? But, you know, and some people are like, you know, when they listen to what the state requirement or the statutory scheme for intestacy, they're okay with that. That is a plan, right? But then some people are like, okay, I want to do a trust, I don't want to do a will, but if something happens to me while I'm living, here's what I want. I want life support, I don't want life support. I want blood transfusion, I don't want organ donation. I want this versus that, right? And so we can help them plan with as little as you want, like as comfortable as you want to get started, to as big as you need to, right? And so I think not invalidating the person's plan, right? Whatever their vision is for themselves. My vision is to be the old lady on the porch with the lemonade, okay?
Me too.
We're gonna do it together.
Yes.
That's my vision. So that's why I have a financial advisor. I've had one since I was single because I've been trying to get these coins so that I can be on the porch watching everybody, right?
And being all up in everybody's business.
Yes, in the window, okay?
Yes.
If it's cold. But, you know, we have to talk about what their visions are for themselves first and then telling them, what is available to them. So that's what I would
There's
say.
someone in the back. She's been, and then I'll get to you.
Yes, I was wondering, hi ladies.
Hi.
In what you're doing, does that involve helping, especially single parents, plan for what happens to minor children?
Yes.
Is that part of what you
Yes, yes.
And whatever they decide in their will, that stands before any court?
So I'll give you the caveat, right? So let's say it's a single person household, but there's a father, right? And I'm gonna go with Maryland/DC law since we're here. So let's say you had a plan and you said, something happens to me, the guardian of my children, i.e. the person watching the children on a day-to-day, is my sister. I don't know if you have a sister, but let's just say my sister. But the child has another natural parent. The other natural parent technically has some supremacy rights, right? Now, the court's opinions have changed in terms of if someone is acting as a de facto parent. Let's say there's a grandmother in the house or an aunt in the house, and that person has acted as the parent for this child. There's some wiggle room in terms of determining what is in the best interest of the child to determine whether or not, you know, the aunt versus the father should be the parent.
Her and then you. Great question.
Great question. What is
What's
the
the
difference? Oh, go ahead.
What's the difference between a will and a trust?
A will is a document that provides for your testamentary, your afterlife distribution, right? A will is only valid or effective upon you dying, meaning, right, the will, you do it while you're alive, but it becomes a living, breathing document once you die. Whereas a trust, okay, is, I explain it to clients in terms of it's an agreement, that's what it is legally, right? Generally an agreement with yourself and yourself when you're starting out. You are the settler or the grantor, person creating the trust, and then you're also the trustee, the person managing the trust asset. It is a document, right? However, it is only valid when it is funded with stuff, right? So what we mean by that, let's say you want your house to be in the trust, which is what most people want, right? So instead of your house being owned by Francois, now the house is owned by the Revocable Living Trust of Regine. So on the deed, I'm gonna go change your deed to say that the house is owned by the trust, right? And so you can have the house being owned by the trust, the car being owned by the trust, bank accounts that are owned by the trust, life insurance distributing into the trust, right? What the trust provides that the will does not do, okay? A trust provides for the continuous management of assets while you're living and while you're dead, okay? So let's say somebody dies or somebody's incapacitated. So the trustee, in this case, becomes incapacitated for whatever reason, Alzheimer's, whatever. So they'll have a successor trustee. That successor trustee can continue to manage the house, the bank accounts, the monies, and all of the things. And then the person that started the trust eventually dies. That trust can continue for several years. It does not require an immediate probate process in order for us to figure out how is the money going to be received, right? It continues the management of the assets. So that is one of the benefits and or differences between a living a will and a trust. So with a will, if you just have a will and you had, for example, advanced medical directive, those documents terminate at death. Your will becomes active. But in order for your will to become active, the court has to get involved. Your will has to be filed with the court. There has to be a personal representative appointed, okay? And depending on where you live, that can take a couple of days, right? And you need an original death certificate, right? So the process from when the will becomes active and when the personal representative is able to act, there's usually a delay. And the delay is the court intervening, whereas a trust, a successor trustee, so long as you name one, can continue to manage your assets.
Someone was named. We'll go here and then we'll come to you. Go ahead.
My question is regarding choosing on and even how to look at what at that age. Do you have like some guideline, like if you're thinking about something like that as kids, like
She said,
like sometimes people will choose, like let's say your mom is living right now, and you say I'm gonna leave my mom, and do you think that would be a wise choice to make your mom and still look after the children if you were to pass?
so you're saying as an attorney, is there a guideline on how to choose someone, the guardianship for your children? That's her question.
So my guidelines are, obviously I advise you about the natural parent, the other natural parent, right? And then if you want to pick, in your example, your mom, what are what's the, obviously you should pick somebody you trust, right? But what are the chances that your mom might pass away before you? So then do you want to pick, the first person and then a successor? So mom is my preferred person, and then some people will pick like godparents, right?
Right.
Or sisters, right? Family members. So I would say if you're picking someone a little bit older, I'd encourage you to pick somebody who's a little bit younger, so that we don't have an issue where, the people that you pick are no longer alive, and then there's nobody else. The other thing is, estate planning is not a one-and-done approach. Just like financial advising is not a one-and-done approach. The person you are in your 20s, in your family and how it exists, whether it's single, married, and so forth, is not going to be the same thing. Also, the tax code's always changing, right? And so estate planning should really be evaluated on an annual basis. so that we can make sure that, you know, at least, hey, check in. The people are still the same people, you're good with that, okay. Or the people are no longer the same people, or we want different people, and why?
Okay. Last one, then we'll go here, here, and there. Okay. No, did you finish what you were saying? Sorry.
My other question is, in having like a trust person, because this is more like a financial stuff. I hear that somehow this is sort of like hiding it from the IRS. Is there any financial way of doing that so that you can notify?
The trust, not going through probate, but go ahead.
So let me dispel the myth. You cannot avoid taxes
Yeah.
if you're going to pay taxes because you're going to pay taxes, we cannot help you stop that, okay? So that's number one. Estate planning in itself, we can minimize, we can do taxing strategies, right? So for example, I'm gonna give, it's an easiest. So Maryland has a $5 million exemption. So long as you're passing to direct lineal descendants, children, parents, siblings are included, right? You can exempt up to $5 million in assets. So if I wanna pass on to my neighbor, it's not exempted, regardless, right? So let's say somebody has $7 million in assets. So $2 million is gonna get taxed. Under Maryland, 16%. When the tax code comes down in 2026, at 40% on the government, right? So what we can do strategies, maybe the person can buy life insurance and the policy is gonna pay the taxes. So all of your assets remain. And so at that point, I will be working really closely with Swaneli because I don't sell life insurance and that's gonna be her wheelhouse, right? But I can create for you the legal document, an irrevocable life insurance trust. So it's separate from your person, and then we can make sure that we create an instrument to pay the taxes so that all your 5 houses can go to all your 5 children. But we cannot avoid taxes, but we can buffer, we can have different tax strategies to assist you in the long run, either now on the income tax perspective or on the estate tax perspective.
Okay. They were running low on time, so you and then the person in the back. Am I missing someone? And then you. Okay, go ahead.
So, can you describe what a family trust is? I've heard that term. I'm not sure if it's different from what you've been describing as a trust. And also, my husband and I, we own a full-time business. We don't work for a company. So, is there a different way to protect your business assets as you do your personal assets?
Okay, so I don't know what a family trust is in a sense, but I would think, I mean, people use different names. It's probably just a revocable trust run by a family. I think what you're probably referring to like a family partnership trust, which is sometimes what you use to buffer or put in business assets when it's a family-run entity, right? So you would put your family-run business, and then there'd be different trustees managing the trust. In regards to your second question, if you have a business, you need either a succession plan, right? So if you want your business to continue if you're no longer here, right? How do we keep the business going? A succession plan. If you want the business to be into a trust, maybe assigning the business into the trust so that the business continues, right? The other thing you can do with a business is having an operating agreement. Super important to have an operating agreement for your business, right? Because if something happens to you and you're the person who's gonna take over, right? I have a business as well. The other thing is thinking about having durable power of attorneys, right? I run payroll every 15 days for my staff. What happens if I can't run payroll? Is there somebody who is able and authorized to run payroll to keep the people living, right? Because they're relying on their paycheck every 15 days, right? If you have a business in which you have a license, I'm a lawyer, I know therapists, and some of the other, so making sure you have a trusted person that has the authority pursuant to a power of attorney to take care of the business in the way that you need it to be done. Also, there's the, depending on the jurisdiction, there's the LLC law, which will provide a statutory scheme that may be different than what you want, but we can certainly craft it out to be exactly what you want. If you want your husband to be the alternate person, to go to the bank, have signatory powers. So we would look at your whole business and talk to you and see what is best and then advise you on that.
In the back.
That is,
You're next. She's
Think
next.
Miss- right?
Wait, no,
Miss
hold
in
on.
the red?
Yep, right here.
okay,
We're
sorry.
gonna come back to it.
Two quick things. What was the name of that statutory? Well, actually, you know what? We'll go to the next one.
Yes.
For example, my mother has been in retirement for 13 years now. I've planned everything out for her. It's gonna all go to waste because, something might happen that's not predictable. Is there an attorney that we can speak to say this was my mother's plan? Because the pension says you can only make this decision here, dependents to get this when you retire. However, I don't know if it's going to catch up. And so that plan is not going to happen. Is there an attorney that can help and come in and say this was her intention?
After she passes, if she doesn't sign the dotted line, like, this is what I wanted. That's different.
No.
Yeah, beneficiary, go ahead.
Go ahead. We both talk about it. Beneficiary designations. Go ahead.
Yeah, like, so making sure that you have a beneficiary on your documents, the pension, the IRA, the savings account, the investment, like, it is crucial. And after the person passed, so this happened a lot during COVID, when a lot of folks in our Haitian community were dying in New York and other places in the country, they would pass and there would be this asset with no bennies. That becomes a problem. And then you come in.
I figured that was no. So another situation, same mother, same parent, has stocks in MetLife.
Right,
This company refuses to give us access to it. I'm talking about her.
right.
I tried to call an attorney.
And that parent is alive.
The parent is alive.
Can that do, can she,
We can't get access. It's a really story. It's a long story. I tried to get an attorney for a will and trust and all that to take a look at it, take up the case, and we need access to these accounts. No, I don't know what you're telling me. I don't know.
Can we talk about it later?
Yeah.
That sounds more specific. I'm happy to talk to you about it later and see if we can figure that out, okay? Doty Joseph. Doty Joseph is in the house.
hey,
So, if you don't know, she's state representative for District 108 in
yes,
Florida.
yes, yes.
She's keeping Florida honest, and we appreciate that.
Still my thunder. The reason I stood up was just not even stood up, raised my hand, was for you to tell these lovely ladies where you're barred in case they wanted to follow up with you about some online things to develop a trust, will substitutes, wills, whatever it is. And I think we're on the same wavelength. And Eva's going to talk about the contact, but if there's anything you wanted to make sure they knew about that, that's really what my question was.
Well, thank you. So Doty is a dear friend. So yes, as I said, I'm licensed in Maryland, D.C., and Florida. I have a multi-regional office serving clients here in Maryland, D.C., and in Florida. So we have office in gorgeous Prince George's County, Maryland, in Largo, Maryland, and we have an office in Fort Lauderdale. I know that on the app, I shared with you all a lengthy annual inventory. This is a really great step, right? Because I hear I don't have enough. Regine, I don't have enough to plan. You have enough. You can't afford not to, right? So estate planning is one of those things, people think like, oh, it's for the rich and famous, or it's for the people that are wealthy. People fight when they have a little bit. People fight when they have a little bit more, and then they fight when they have a lot more. And I can tell you right now we are involved because of my background in litigation and all of it. They got a little bit, like little bit, like little
They
bit.
tend to fight more when there is a little bit.
Okay, let me give it to you. We have been fighting over a stock certificate, which is worth maybe $2,300. My attorney's fees have been more than $2,300. That's a little bit, right?
And
It's
that
about
stock
the
certificate probably
principle.
worth a lot more, a lot less now, considering
Yes.
where we're at.
A little bit. People have a lot more, $500,000, right? $700,000. And then people have a lot more, $8 million. All of them involve fights, unless you plan. And what happens in all of these situations are that the attorney's fees keep running. And I don't want to be involved in this because I know it's a hard time. Like, I can't imagine losing somebody and then we have to be fighting over who's going to get the house. First of all, I'm going to tell for my personal, I would not be involved in it. Send me whatever you want to send me when you want to send it to me. But I get it, because it's kind of like your last piece of the person, right? And you're trying to keep it.
Yeah, sentimental
but
value.
if we have to fight over it because there was no plan, it is difficult, right? And there are family dynamics, and one of my famous sentences, Regine, what should I do? You know your family. I know my family. You know your family, right? So put the person in place who you think is going to be best. And so I cannot express enough that as we're here at this conference, you all look fly. We are earning so much more money in this country. We're building wealth in this country if you're here, and then allowing it to pass, to just go to waste after we're gone, right? So, you came here in the 80s, you came here in the 90s, you came here in the 2000s. You got the house, you got the car, you worked really hard, munde respecteo, and then it's gonna go to waste?
Right.
It's not fair.
What is the name of the business that you
My business? Francois Williams Legal.
Let me
Legal.
get her in the back there. Go ahead.
And then I have a house, but people say, oh, I should put it in my kids' name. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So how do you go about like building, like somebody talk about trust, put it in a trust? Like how do you go about that?
First, you're 66 years young. Can
Yes.
you give her a round of applause on that, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Asia. 67 next month. So happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday. So yes,
So, because they say like if you get sick or whatever, the government can take your house.
that's not true. The government's not going to take your house. I promise you that. They don't want it. The thing is, like, just like foreclosures, the bank doesn't want your house. They sometimes take it, right? But they're not in the business of running houses. So,
If you get to a nursing home, like something like that, so let's say I get a stroke,
okay.
whatever. So then you end up in a nursing home. All of a sudden, it's not under your kid's house, then there's a nursing home.
Like a reverse mortgage type of situation?
No, what she's talking about is Medicaid planning.
Oh, okay.
So you brought up a lot of, okay? I'm going to try to address them quickly because I know I see Nadine on the side.
Right.
So I do not agree generally with putting additional people on your house, okay? Because one, it sometimes creates a taxable event that you did not intend for it to do. And people just think, oh, I'm just gonna add my sister, my kid. We have to be really more thoughtful about that. Also, let's say, God forbid, you ended up in a nursing home. There's something called Medicaid planning, right? And so Medicaid says that you have to be poor, almost $2,500 a month, depending on the jurisdiction that you live in order to get the government to give you full health care, right? Medicaid is the government's health care. However, there are strategies that allow you to keep some of your assets, okay? And that's what people don't talk about.
Yep.
And people keep telling. So you can generally keep your house, okay? Does it mean that at the end of your life, if you're a single person, I don't know if you're single or married, okay? So you can generally keep your life. You can put assets in a special pooled needs trust, right? So that those assets, so let's say you had $200,000, you could put some of it in the special needs trust so that while you're in the nursing home, some of that money goes and takes care of you. Let's say you were in a situation where you had too many assets. There's something that we can call gifting and give back. Like you could give some of it to your kids with them giving some of it back at certain intervals so that you're not disqualified for Medicaid. But your question is, I'm going to tell you, I'm giving you like some of the things that are involved. So yes, there are things that you can do, is a more complex question. We would have to look at your entire situation, like your bank account, in helping you do that. But we are able to help people, and in that area of law is called elder law, which I do some of, right? But it helps people to qualify for the Medicaid so that they can get the care that they need without losing all of their assets. So I'll say to you, there are strategies, right? They're out there. You just kind of like, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so you hear things on the internet, but we are able to, people are able to keep thousands and thousands in houses, and they're in the nursing home, right? But we just have to do it in the legal way that the code allows us to do it. And so please, if you need the help, go see a competent person so that we can not lose the assets that you've worked really hard for.
Right. Okay. One last thing we'll say. I know I can see everyone's faces, a lot more questions. We're here. Come, talk to us, ask your questions. I'll let you, she's going to wrap it up and say everything I was about. Oh, where? In the app. And you guys, I brought a lot of docs. I know sometimes it could be a lot of information, but my information, contact information is on here. You know, read through the pieces. Those are great information about finance, about estate planning, about gathering your assets, like you were mentioning, like a family inventory, who gets what, you know, a family tree. Just implement something, right, that we've said here. And if there's something specific that you want to discuss with any one of us, please come by, chat with us, because what brings me joy, and I can say the same thing for Regine, I love this event. And nothing brings me more joy than a year later, 2 years later, someone said, oh my gosh, Fanny, I heard you speak, and I bought a house. Oh my God, I heard Regine speak, and I did this for my estate planning. So that's our goal.
Absolutely.
I can't say too much more other than thank you. You are a gift to us, both of you, for giving your time. And again, their information is in the app. They're not going anywhere. You will see them later at La Grandance. You will see them in the club later at the official after party.
You going to the club?
Yeah, girl.
They're going to the
Front and
You
center.
will see them tomorrow. You will see them tomorrow at the 17th annual Haitian Ladies Brunch. They're not going anywhere, but really we owe them a debt of gratitude because they did not have to take a weekend and be away from family to be with us. And so we're thankful. So a couple of housekeeping. We're going back in presidential for plenary that you don't want to miss. It's called Her Story. There's some very exciting Haitian women, including Sandra Lajoie, you'll get to know, and the Emily Michel. She'll be sharing her story, so you don't want to miss that. So as you can tell, Haitian Ladies Network Steering Committee, we jam-packed the agenda. But drink some water, do a couple of stretches. We still have a lot more in store for you all. So at 3 o'clock, you want to be back in the plenary in the presidential ballroom to finish out. And then we'll give you more instructions. So thank you, ladies.
Awesome.